Hi, I'm Charmaine. Welcome to the Love of Self podcast, where we delve into the emotional aspects of finding love for self. Today's topic is toxic. Toxicity is something that most people have experienced at some point in life. We can all probably remember a time where we dealt with toxicity from a person, place, or thing. I'm sure that the wounds from whatever that left within our consciousness tells us something about life. It tells us about how we handle life, how we are structured to handle bad and good, how we can learn from whatever toxic energy that comes our way to potentially nip it in the bud very quickly. Once you've experienced it, it can always trigger itself through other avenues of life, through other people, through other places. We can understand the playbook of toxicity by paying attention to its moves. We know that the corrosion that it tries to put on this earth can create a certain pattern, a certain wavelength, that when we come across it next, we spot it very quickly. When we're paying attention to what has happened throughout life where toxicity tries to create something within us, when it tries to corrode something about us, when it tries to take over to where our substance and essence no longer looks the same, no longer feels the same, no longer is the same, we can then recognize its negativity for what it truly is. When we're able to understand the true core of who we are, when we are aligned with ourselves, toxicity looks too ugly. It feels too horrible. It's too uncomfortable to mesh with the energy that we're in. It can be spotted at the snap of a finger when we know our true selves, when we see and understand what the true structure of life is supposed to be. When that is the case, the change is too negatively extraordinary for us to dismiss it. We can see it right away. We can feel it. We can sense it as soon as it tries to come in and take over. Toxicity is too out of line from who we are for it to be able to do that. So I would gather that that means that the more toxicity that we gravitate towards, the more comfortable we've become with it. The more that it seems like regular life, it can appeal to our egos. The more that I'm not in tune and understand the truth of myself, the good within myself, the wisdom within myself, the easier it is to be engulfed in a toxic way of thinking. Even for those who grew up in a lot of toxicity, even for those who were surrounded in a lot of toxicity, are able to recognize what it is because it is so outside of what they know within themselves to be good, to be right, to be justice, to be fair. And so for some, it never takes a hold of them. It never meshes with their energy because they can always see things for what it really is. They can see things within the ethical presentation of how we all can and choose to live our lives and think and believe and behave and see the world and see ourselves. Others who may have those same experiences may have a more difficult time deciphering who they are outside of all that they see. And that's where our discernment comes in. That's where our connection comes in. Our belief systems of how we can see ourselves grow through life and live our lives and connect through life. It can be an easy distinction to decipher toxic energy from not, and be much harder to implement that for yourself through the contradiction of your surroundings. It can be quite easy to fight a fight with a fight than it is to fight a fight with your mind and behavior, with your movements, with your grace, with your intelligence, depending on who you're counteracting with. And the toxicity that we unfortunately all have to handle in one way or another has an important factor for the battles that we must face every day, including the battles within our own minds, including the toxicity that we've allowed to take over our mental space, including the corrosion that we were too afraid to see because we didn't want something to be true. And when we're able to face the facts, face the reality of the structure that we were meant to be for ourselves, for our environments, for our families, for our well-being, for our knowledge, for our strength, we can come to grips with the fact that all of the toxicity that shows its ugly head is the potential for me to gain strength. There's a potential for me to restructure myself, a newly formed structure that cannot be tampered with. It's all the potential for the internal fight, the internal structure, the internal endurance and balance that is needed to live life in an enlightening way to help us elevate into who we need to be for our best selves, for our best light, for our best energy, for our best consciousness, for our best behavior, or maybe not. I'd like to thank you for taking these few moments to listen to what I have to say. I greatly, greatly appreciate you. So, I'd like to ask you, what is your idea of toxic energy? When you experienced toxic energy, what was the point where you realized what was happening? And what did you do in response to it? How did the toxic moment feel for you? How did it look? What did it help you see? Within your structured self, what are the things that you can do to bring internal strength against toxicity? What are the ideas within you that can help you become less toxic yourself? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment or email theloveofselfpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember, I am not a licensed therapist. Also, my book is out, Love Yourself, a book of poetry and spiritual writings for self-love. It's available now on bookbaby.com. Purchase link is in my Instagram bio. I wish you all peace, love, and joy, always. Until next time.